Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. Hello, lovely one. How are you doing? And a big thank you for those of you that sent me lovely messages on the back of last week's podcast about navigating your business through really hard times. So today I am really excited to talk about this because this is something that I really believe is super integral to having bulletproof motivation. And don't be fooled by the title of this podcast, the actual podcast itself, Rockabye Revenue. Don't be fooled into believing that I think business is all about money, because I really, really don't. But I carefully chose that name because I do believe that, we should be allowed to make money through our wonderful, life-changing businesses, okay? Today, though, I'm here to talk about the non-financial benefits that we should absolutely be celebrating. So beyond the money, we must always remember to celebrate the other wins that our businesses bring us. And why is that so important? Well, money is simply one measure of success, isn't it, in terms of business? And in actual fact, I can think of lots of people that I know that could be seen as very successful in terms of the finances of their businesses. I absolutely would not aspire to have a business like theirs, because whilst I see that, in terms of what's on paper and in terms of the money that they are bringing in, actually, there's not many other aspects of their businesses that I'd want to have. Actually, I see that they don't have much freedom, that they're very much tied to a computer, that they don't get to see their families very much, and all those things that to me would not make a successful business. So as much as this podcast is definitely about strategies to make money, I really do believe that we must always remember to celebrate the non-financial benefits of our businesses as well, because that means that our motivation is not determined solely on the figures on your bank statement. And that is so important, because I tell you what, the thing about running a business, and I know this because I've been in this game for 10 years, in the course of a year, your figures will go up and down, and you will come to understand that, understand that you will have months that are much more lucrative than other months. But if we are solely getting our motivation from how many coins, how many digits are coming through our businesses, then our motivation is going to be rock bottom, at times when our bank accounts are lower, and actually we need the motivation then, because actually maybe we need that surge of motivation to go out and attract the other clients. So let's take a moment to really think about the other successes that our businesses bring us. So before I share what I think, I would like you just to take a moment now and think about the other good stuff that your business has brought you beyond the money. What has it brought to your life that is not about the figures on a bank statement? What has it brought? Because my goodness, let's face it, when people are at the end of their life, I very much doubt they are celebrating the amount of money they made. They are celebrating all the other wonderful aspects of their lives, the relationships, the memories, the fun times, the impact they had. That's what they're celebrating. And wouldn't it be useful to regularly get into the habit of celebrating those things when it comes to our businesses too? Now, if you are on social media and you follow a lot of business coaches and people who teach about business, it can be very much about focusing on the income, striving for a 6-figure year, or, getting your first 10k month or whatever it might be. And the kind of effect of us seeing all that is sometimes we start seeing our value of our business simply in those terms, when actually there are so many more wonderful celebrations we need to be having. So here's my take on it, and here's what I think we should be celebrating in our businesses, as well as the earnings, because there's nothing wrong with celebrating the money that we make. My goodness, we deserve it, and we absolutely should be celebrating that. But here's what we should be celebrating as well. So we should be celebrating the impact that we're having. We should be thinking about those clients that's lives wouldn't look the same if it wasn't for them using our services. And we are so lucky to be working in the birth and baby industry. And when we think about impact, oh my goodness, the wonderful thing about this industry is our work is so impactful. If you work preparing women for birth, oh my goodness, you are helping them have a better experience. An experience that they're going to remember for the rest of their life, The experience that, helps shape those early days of parenting too. Perhaps the knock-on effect of them doing your course or services is that they come closer to their partner. Maybe you don't work preparing people for birth. Maybe you work more postnatally and you run classes for mums and babies, mums and toddlers. Or maybe you support them with their sleep challenges. My goodness. Mothers in those early years are so vulnerable and often so lonely, and you are providing them spaces to connect, spaces to bond with their babies, spaces to learn more about their babies, their children, when we just don't have that anymore. We don't have the village. We don't have those wise people in our communities, giving us that wonderful insight. And you are providing that. Go look at some of the reviews that you've received and really hear those words of the impact you have had. Celebrate that. Have you been thinking about becoming a hypnobirthing teacher? Perhaps you've always longed for a career making a difference and working more flexibly. Or maybe you're already a baby business owner and you've thought about expanding your offerings so that you can work with women prenatally too. Come over to my Instagram, loveyourbirth_training, and DM me quiz, and I will send you my quiz to see if teaching hypnobirthing is for you. The other day I was chatting to a friend who has, a typical great career, working kind of like, she doesn't work 9 to 5, but you know what I mean, that kind of regular job. And she was talking about how she drops her children off at before school club and picks them up at after school club. And she was talking actually about the price of that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe it costs that much. And then I was also thinking, oh my gosh, how blooming lucky am I that I don't even need to know the cost of that, And it made me remember that I need to celebrate the fact that I get to live my life this way, where I don't need to be thinking about wraparound care, where I don't need to be thinking about who's going to pick my children up when I'm working. I get that flexibility, and maybe you do too. Are you celebrating that? Because you absolutely should. Maybe you're celebrating the fact that you never miss an assembly. Your child's never been on stage looking through the crowd thinking, where's mum? Because you've always been able to be there. That is so rare, And sometimes I am a bit like, because I've got 4 kids, oh my God, another school event or another thing going on. And it feels a bit like, oh gosh, this really adds to all the places I need to be. And then I remember, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky that I get to be there. I'm so lucky that my daughter gets to say, oh mum, I'm getting an award in assembly, you're invited. And I'm thinking, why couldn't you have told me last week? Yet still, I get to be there, That is incredible. Another wonderful thing that comes from business that we must celebrate are the people that we meet. The other day I put something on my personal Facebook page and I looked through all the heartfelt comments, and I would say about 90% of those people that took time to comment on my post were people that I'd met through my business, either as past clients, either as people that I know in the industry, either, coaches and mentors that I've worked with, people that I'd have never known if it wasn't for this business. Who do you now know and have great relationships with because of your business? And maybe those are people that are more like-minded than any of your friends that you've ever had, because you're both working in this passion project. So you have this incredible thing in common, and it's being able to develop such true friendships. Remember to celebrate those. Remember to celebrate that your work is so fulfilling, that your work quite often doesn't feel like work, Actually, Sometimes it feels a bit like a hobby and you look forward to it. That your work gets to be like that, because how many other people get to say that? Celebrate the fact that your work gets to be on your terms. You get to decide when you work with your clients, what times, what days that's going to be. You get to shift it and change it around the changing seasons of your life, your family. How many people get to say that? So whilst it's very easy to focus on the financial rewards, we must also focus on these non-financial, incredible things that totally enhance our lives. And maybe you're gonna put in your diary every single month a reminder to remember those things, to keep your motivation strong and to keep you working in your wonderful business and putting that effort in, because your business is giving you far more than money. It's giving you so many things, so many experiences, so many relationships, having such impact, and we mustn't forget it, because that's what life's about. It's about the experiences. It's about the satisfaction. It's about the joy. So always remember that, lovely one. And I shall see you next time. Take care. Bye. Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.